Hello, my fellow nerds, and welcome to the Nerd Empire. I hope you all are having a fantastic day today, and I hope you all will enjoy today's reaction video. With that being said, let's get right into it, shall we? Alright, the next one we got here is by Bellier News, and it's EA. This is exactly why people hate you. EA is just... I don't know if there's much that can be said about EA that hasn't already been said. Let's just get right into it.
The games industry is now messed up to a point where you can be a developer on the best-selling game of the year and still find that your job isn't safe. And for you and me who play the video games, that's kind of bad news, because the people who lose their jobs walk out of the door with all the knowledge they've accrued. Have you ever wondered why you might play a game and think, wow, did the developer not make all of those mistakes? Last version of the game, why are we making...
I don't know the name in English, but we need that maxim from MIB2. The one that used to bring K's memory back. You know what's funny about Overwatch? I think Overwatch got a lot of its popularity thanks to the Overwatch porn. I think that's why it's still so relevant and popular today, is just because of the hentai stuff that comes from Overwatch. In the new video, Fleekazoid shows Marathon lifted something out of Concord. How dare you, Vegeta?
Making them again? Yeah, institutional knowledge walks out the door. Now what we're talking about today is Battlefield. Your buy-in with that game helped it dethrone Call of Duty at launch.
I want to play Battlefield 6 so fucking badly. Hydrate. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. I'll hydrate with more cherry Coke. Gotta duck out. Thanks for the stream today. Have a good rest of the all day. Have a good one, Jaded. Thank you for being here. As they say, sex sells. Yes, it does.
But of course, that doesn't really matter to EA's leadership anymore. They want more. And what happens next, I think, tells you everything you need to know about how the people running these studios think about the people who make their games. So if it's all about the money, then what about the money? Battlefield 6 boosted EA's financials incredibly. Year on year, they were up 38% in net bookings, so from 2.2 billion to just over 3 for the 3 months after the game launched. That was good, and it was on...
Electronic Arts reports quarter 3 FY26 results. Net bookings for the quarter totaled 3.046 billion, up 38% year over year. Battlefield 6 was the best-selling shooter title of 2025. EA Sports FC net bookings increased high single digits year over year in quarter 3. Apex Legends momentum continued in quarter 3 with net bookings up double digits year over year. Net revenue was 1.901 billion for the quarter.
Top of even more good news, because EA Sports FC did fairly well, and even Apex Legends had some double-digit growth, which is fairly rare for that game now. But it's BF6 that led the way as the best-selling game of 2025. That was a first for the series, they got new records for player engagement, and EA's execs also just locked down an extravagant deal with the Saudi Public Investment Fund. So, they've got payouts incoming, they've got their 5-year gamble with Battlefield actually paying off. Surely they would have been thrilled. Right? Obviously not. There is just one problem, and that is the net revenue in this quarter last year was 1.88 billion. That was Dragon Age, NHL 25, and some Sims expansions along with live service revenue. That means that Battlefield's success only boosted them to $1.9 billion. Very sad. I'm sure we all feel awful for them. Now that still is EA making incredible...
I don't know a single person that ever really feels awful for EA doing bad or anything, because considering all the scummy practices EA has done over the years, if EA falls, I think a lot of people wouldn't give two shits.
Amounts of money, but it's not an incredible enough amount of money, and the rate isn't fast enough. So How do you solve that? How do you very quickly make yourself be more profitable? I think we all have an idea. According to IGN sources, staff have been laid off across all of the Battlefield.
I hate the fact that just because they're not very profitable for a certain amount of time, their instant reaction is to fire people. It's like, maybe it's not the people. Maybe it's you doing a shit job of making a goddamn video game because you refuse to listen to your fucking audience.
Field Studios, that's DICE, Criterion, Ripple Effect, and Motive. EA's calling it a realignment, and they say no studio closures are planned, but the layoffs are widespread amongst teams and...
EA layoffs staff across all Battlefield studios following record-breaking Battlefield 6 launch. That makes no sense. Why are you laying off people across Battlefield studios when it was the best fucking Battlefield game you've ever done? EA has laid off an unknown number of individuals from across the Battlefield teams, including workers at Criterion, DICE, Ripple Effect, and Motive Studios, IGN understands. Individuals are being informed that the layoffs are taking place as part of a realignment across the Battlefield studios as the team continues its ongoing live service support for BF6. Realignment my ass. I fucking doubt that. Jesus Christ. The game is done unanimously fucking phenomenal, and yet you're laying off people because it's not doing well enough. The last good thing EA had done was the double-sized PS2 memory card. I mean, this is probably the best game EA has brought out in a long-ass time, and yet they're laying off people because it's not doing enough. I think it's done more than enough. They're just being too fucking greedy about everything.
Amongst disciplines, which is a great recipe for making players happy in the long term, which a few Battlefield players maybe aren't right now. But there is some extra context to this story. An Ars Technica report from last year flagged the scope of EA's ambitions, like literally just how huge.
What's wrong with AAA games? The development of the next BF has answers. It's been 23 years since the first Battlefield game, and the video game industry is nearly unrecognizable to anyone who was immersed in it then. Many people who loved the games of that era have since become frustrated with where AAA, big-budget games have ended up. It's because they're trying to... I get that you want to bring more people into the gaming industry and everything, but you are trying to please everybody. And when you try to please everybody, you're going to end up pleasing nobody. Just make the game for a specific... For the people you were making for it before. Don't try and make it for everyone. Keep it within the area you were making it for, and eventually you'll start bringing in more people because the game was fucking good. It is the norm for large companies. They hire a fuck ton when the game is being made, then lay off a bunch after release when they need for devs or just instead of using them for the next game. Yeah, it's just... If they just focused on making the game actually good, playable, and fun, then the game would actually do well and bring in money. But they're trying to make a game where they can bring in money right then and there. And when it doesn't bring in the money they're wanting right away, they get frustrated with it. Which is fucking stupid. This is why we are making games without funding or publishers so no one can mess with our idea or goal. Yeah. It's because they're too worried about their stockholders, backers, or whatever other shit instead of worrying about how it will go with the actual audience they're making it for. You're supposed to make games for your audience, not for your shareholders. That's not how this shit works. If you make it solely to make your shareholders happy or whatever fucking other else, your game is just going to become shit. Make your game to please your audience, and then you will fucking do well.
Huge they were. The budget had ballooned past $400 million because of development delays, and EA leadership at one point were reportedly targeting a 100 million player number across the game's lifespan. That's about 70 million more than Battlefield 1, BF1 being the franchise's mass market high point. So, you know, kinda tough. Now those player targets may have been reachable through Gauntlet and RedSec, which were their free-to-play modes, and you can maybe see how they thought. What if core Battlefield gives us the best core Battlefield numbers we've ever got?
I think games need to stop making battle royales. We have enough fucking battle royales. Any new FPS game that comes out, people immediately ask, is it going to get a battle royale? Is it going to get a battle royale? Is it going to get a BR? Where's the BR? You have 20 fucking other games where you can play a battle royale. Stop trying to have everything and anything and everything. Have a fucking battle royale mode. Go and play the 20 other ones. Fortnite, Call of Duty, PlayerUnknown Battleground, now fucking Battlefield. Hell, we have indie battlegrounds, battle royales. The ones I named are just the main ones. People think that Halo would have done better if it had a battle royale. Yeah, fucking right it would.
Better than BF1. And then what if RedSec gets us Call of Duty Warzone numbers? Then we'll have 100 million. Yippee!
What these companies aren't taking into consideration is FPS fatigue and battle royale fatigue. Yeah, and especially with Call of Duty, they're coming out one every single year. You can't do that. People are going to get so fatigued out of these games that everyone's just going to keep getting frustrated with it. Come out with one every 3 or 4 years. And then people will start, I think people will start becoming happy because you actually took your time to fucking work on the game. And hero shooters as well. Stop trying to make it more fucking hero shooters. You're not going to outdo Overwatch or Marvel Rivals. Just stop trying to outdo those popular games and focus on making a game that you can be proud of and will be fun. I dropped out of FPS over 15 years ago. It got boring. Fortnite, I never played it and never will, and never liked it. I want to see how young people act. Oh, I know this. It's from Fortnite. God. I remember there's a meme going on where somebody would see Master Chief and they'd be like, oh, it's that guy from Fortnite. Oh, I want to shoot you in the head.
That's probably the deluded wishful thinking that went on.
Fortnite
as we
sucks.
know, both RedSec and Gauntlet were rushed out pretty much immediately after launch as a sort of onboarding ramp, but they just ended up creating friction between paying players and free players who just wanted different things from their Battlefield experience. Then quality issues with the December update slowed Season 2, and with that, new income from the new Battle Pass would have been frozen. And there is, of course, the passing of Vince Zampella. That has likely led to some internal reorganization on top of all of that, and given how important he was to Battlefield Studios, you could maybe see him as being somewhat of an internal advocate and someone powerful enough to maybe shield Battlefield from some of the worst decisions that EA could make. That is certainly what we believe, generally speaking, went on with Respawn, which is where he of course was previously. With the game then, the live service was not delivering at the pace that EA wanted, and in fairness, it wasn't really delivering at the pace that many players wanted. But here's the thing, right? Battlefield is not the only live service game where Electronic Arts just cut their staff, and the pattern between the two we're going to talk about tells you something really important. It actually may not be about the games at all. In February, the developer Full Circle announced that their free-to-play live service version of Skate had reached tens of millions of players. Amazing news, but that they would also be, quote, transforming as a studio by reshaping Full Circle to better support Skate's long-term future, which of course means layoffs, which are likely happening because the studio costs more to run than it's bringing in from passes and cosmetics. Maybe this could tell us that propping up our whole industry on pass
Co-op, heavy focus on planning, part of heist-based building, etc. We are extremely early in the development, though. Oh, cool. I never played Skate. Never really. I never really cared for Skate type games. I mean, the last one I played was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and that was back in the PlayStation 1 days.
And cosmetics is just not a sustainable thing over the long term. I don't know about you, but I'm happy to pay for content. Anyway, with Skate, the cracks were already showing. You see, the studio revealed that an updated version of the tutorial island would be coming to the game, but it would be behind a premium subscription paywall and then an in-game currency paywall. And that does break a promise made during Skate's announcement back in 2022 that they would have, quote, no map areas locked behind paywalls. Lovely. That's a promise that was there in their FAQ.
Whenever somebody says there will be no paywall, I tend not to believe them because they end up going back on their word and end up putting it behind a paywall, and sometimes behind two paywalls, meaning you have to pay real money and then you'll have to also pay in-game money. You can't take these companies seriously when they say we're not going to do this, because they'll end up doing the exact thing that they said that they were not going to do and promised were not going to do. Because these companies, their greed gets to them and they decide to do the thing that they promised not to do. Tony Hawk was great. It was a fun game. No paywall, skepticism rises. Yeah, pretty much.
Until one day, quietly, it was no longer there. I wonder how that happened. Now, their response is just that, quote, sometimes plans have to change. That's part of the deal when you're building in public.
Well, then here's the thing. Don't make promises you can't keep. Because that's how you lose trust with the player base. And that's how you lose your player base. My friends who worked at EA, they had hired, fired, rehired seasons of their employees to avoid giving them full-term benefit. Yeah, fucking... companies are just fucking evil like that. I was suck at Tony Hawk.
Okay, I do get that. I suppose they needed more income, so they needed to break a few promises to get that income. But the thing is, you can also make more money by spending less money, hence the layoffs. So, Full Circle and Battlefield Studios...
Here's the other thing with that. Stop hiring so many fucking people if you're not going to keep them and if you can't afford to pay for all of them. Just keep the people you have and just tell people, hey, this is going to take a bit longer to complete than we originally thought. Which is fine. I don't mind having to wait a bit longer if that means that the game is going to be, you know, more quality. These companies have to stop fucking... I get that you have to spend money to make money, but don't spend money that you don't fucking have.
Likely are suffering from the same problem. They cost a lot of money to run. EA invested heavily in setting these up. Full Circle was built from the ground up, and Battlefield had a similar plan with Ridgeline Games, but of course they shut down Ridgeline Games. There's the whole debacle with the campaign of Battlefield, and overall, they took 4 studios, they gave 3 of them no other projects, and they just put all of them in Battlefield. That's extremely expensive. So, fewer staff, lower operating cost, higher margin for your live service, fairly simple logic, fairly simple plan.
Corporations will do anything to save $1. That includes completely screwing over your staff and firing droves of employees right after the game is completed. EA won the Worst Company in America award several years, Golden Poop Award. Yeah, it's like, I swear, the people who are in charge of these companies' finances, I swear, have lost half their intelligence and have no idea how to do anything with finances anymore. They just think, hey, look at all this money. Let's spend it because, reasons.
That's what they're doing. But here's what's interesting. Even if the live service income was disappointing, and I'm ready to believe that it was, EA's leadership have an entirely different reason right now to be thinking about looking efficient, and it is nothing to do with the actual video games. Think about it this way. We know that Battlefield 2042 was a comparative failure for EA, so much so that they spent years and hundreds of millions rebuilding their development pipeline for BF6. While we do know that staff attrition was rather high at the company, do you know what also didn't happen whenever 2042 was just floundering about, I guess, like a fish out of water? Big staff layoffs. Those did not happen. Despite all of the financial damage done with BF 2042, they did not do layoff waves. And of course, 2042 was almost certainly making a shitload less money than Battlefield 6. So if a 2042-like situation doesn't inspire layoffs, and that's a game that multiple studios were working on as well, then maybe this is less about the game's income and more about Electronic Arts itself. And that's where, according to IGN sources, we have an interesting thing to talk about. EA is not framing these layoffs as part of their preparations for the Saudi Public Investment Fund acquisition. And it's worth remembering that they've told the Securities and Exchange Commission in their filings that there would be no, quote, immediate changes to the workforce as a result of that acquisition. So with all those statements made, they wouldn't necessarily just say out loud why they're laying people off. But what
I don't think they'll ever give a true statement as to why they lay people off. They'll just keep saying it's a realignment or a reinvestment or some stupid shit like that. They're never going to give an actual legitimate answer and reason as to why they're laying people off. They never will. The corporation I worked for last year fired, not laid off, but fired 30% of their staff back in February. They then proceeded to blackball every person they... Jesus Christ. The first people these companies should lay off are the cupcakers and journos. Most of the people fired still have yet to find a job almost 14 months later. It's just... I swear, these companies just... They have retards running them. What I also think is that they lazy because they know that there are modders doing their work. They need to hire a lot of these modders because these modders tend to seem to know how to do their job better than the fucking people at the goddamn company.
What we can see is that EA have spent years cutting staff. Between 2022 and 2026, they laid off about 2,000 people. Now, partially that's a post-pandemic correction, but it also made EA look lean, and that is exactly what you want to look like when you're trying to court a buyer. Because one thing that always happens around an acquisition is, of course, layoffs. Management always needs to make departments that are about to be acquired look as profitable and efficient as is possible. And firing a bunch of developers who aren't directly contributing to profit, well, that is just good business. It will look disciplined. Of course, never mind that those studios have still got to operate those live service games after they have lost these key personnel. And perhaps if you're wondering, didn't it feel like games maybe just were a bit more stable or got more content like at times back in the day? Is all this live service stuff actually good for us? If you're thinking about that, well, it's a good thing to think about.
It was better back in the day because they actually cared about making a quality fucking game. I don't know where or when they decided to stop doing quality and started to push it out and do all this dumb bunch of bullshit, but I mean, hell, Battlefield 4, in my opinion, was... Even to this day, it's still fucking fun. It's full of goddamn cheaters and everything now because, lack of people watching out. But, I haven't been middle management usually an issue. Granted, some of the employees can't even cook toast. It feels right now that the checkbox hires are getting kicked to the curb. LinkedIn is like a blue sky apocalypse right now. I haven't been able to find a job as a damn janitor since I got canned last year. Over 600 applications sent out and only 6 or 7 interviews. I get shot down for jobs because I'm a... Well, that's the other thing. A lot of these jobs are putting out like now hiring stuff because they have to for like taxes or any financial reasons or whatever stupid bullshit they're spouting. They have to put these out even though they're not actually hiring. So they put these out, they do interviews and all this stuff, but they're not actually hiring anybody. They just do this because they have to. So that's why the job market is so fucked up. My last Battlefield was 1942. My last one was the last good one I played was Battlefield 4.
And maybe some of the conditions under which these games are made, maybe some of these financial structures have something to do with it. Because it really seems like the Western industry has optimized completely around squeezing live services. Not exactly great, and there's certainly a good few counterexamples from, I don't know, Japan. But the point is that the balance sheets will look good when the new bosses arrive, and that raises a bit of...
I've wanted to play this game because this looks like a lot of fun.
The question, what does any of this actually mean for the people who made Battlefield the best-selling game of the year? Battlefield 6's success lasted about 1 quarter. Skate was also about the same. The devs delivered that success, and they were then just getting underway with their live service stuff, of course, in the hopes of meeting EA's targets for what those games could deliver over time. And maybe they've missed those targets. You know, the 100 million player one that's been much talked about as one example. But the people being fired did not set those targets. They just tried to do their job as best as they could. EA set the targets, and EA leadership have now decided on the layoffs. There's no accountability for the people who set those targets. And I want you to think about something. In a world where, say, Battlefield 6 is purely just Battlefield for the sake of Battlefield, trying to be the best of what a Battlefield game could be. So, focused on 64-player, the maps that Battlefield's known for, and not a whole bunch of other random side shit. Maybe you only put loads of resources into RedSec because you think you need to hit 100 million target over a bunch of years for your bosses. Maybe that's why a bunch of fractured...
It is amazing when you see the people riding the little helicopter, all the shit they're able to do with it. It's like, how the fuck, how much time did you put into the game just so you can do this, do all this, you know, stuff with the goddamn helicopter?
Bullshit happened within the development process that certainly appears to have slowed down their ability to just make maps and content. I don't know exactly, but those big strategic targets that come from the top, they have a big impact on how the games are actually made. But the sad thing with these types of targets is, even if you meet your targets, well, management can just decide that, oh, you hit the target. Clearly, we should have set a higher target. Of course, missed the target and the devs didn't do a good enough job, but either way, the outcome is the same, because the sales don't matter, the targets don't matter, success doesn't matter. The only thing that really matters is the balance sheet, and how all of these things feed into the goddamn balance sheet. And after setting up all these expensive studios, EA simply just doesn't want them to be as expensive as they have been, now that their launch is done. And there's nothing that the staff could have done to change any of that. They could have hit 100 million players, and it would have just shown EA's leadership that, well, with fewer people, the margins could be even better. So I'd say none of this is long-term thinking. I think it is just corporate leadership rejecting the last number that they saw and trying to make the next balance sheet look better, because that is, funnily enough, their job. And of course now, the remaining staff have got to try and deliver on what players want, with fewer people, less experience, and directives to improve profit margins. So if we maybe feel like we're not getting as much content, but we're also being asked for more money, gee, I wonder why. But that is just the reality of the games industry in current year. You can literally make a year's best-selling game, and the only thing it'll buy you is the privilege of watching your colleagues get fired so the balance sheet looks a little bit better for the corporation's next owner. Thanks, EA. You know, one of the reasons why people left Respawn and moved to Wildlight to do Highguard is that they actually felt like, even though Apex was a really, really big success, it didn't really, like, give them many benefits. It just didn't seem like, oh, we had a really big win. Why are we not really seeing the benefits of this really big win? That's one of the reasons why they decided to move and to leave EA. That maybe tells you something. Though obviously their story has not ended well, and if you want to learn about how that story has just ended, watch this video next.
Yeah, it's just, I think like the two worst, like the two titans of the worst, that represent the worst companies are EA and Activision Blizzard. They are the greediest and probably the scummiest industries, because they don't care about making a good game. They don't care about pleasing their audience. They care about their fucking greed. It's just, I want them to make quality games that we can all be hyped to play when we get home. I haven't been hyped to play a game like I used to be back in the day when wanting to come home and play Modern Warfare 2 or Halo 3. Because every time I got home from like school or work, when, playing Halo 3 or Modern Warfare 2, I was so hyped to play it. I would play it for hours on end every time I got home. That's all I would do, was just fucking go on the Xbox and play Modern Warfare 2 or Halo 3. I have yet to have a game that made me feel like that since then. They have sued people for using Pokemon photos for a fucking fundraiser. Jesus Christ. Nintendo is being fucking stupid too. They're being very retarded when it comes to shit like what was that game called? The Pal World. These companies are being so fucking retarded when it comes to their goddamn greed. Well, that is the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give a like and subscribe. I post videos 3 to 5 days a week here. I also post videos over on my other channel for gaming as well. So please make sure to give that a look-see. See if you enjoy that as well. I also stream anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week as well. Links to all my social medias will be on my YouTube page. And with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.